From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James.
All right, folks, good morning. It's Thursday, November 5th. Let's get right into today's Practitioner Brief. Before we get started, though, make sure you subscribe right now for our Practitioner Brief. A lot of great stuff on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com, including our Practitioner Brief with all the links, all the stories, all the details. So much to talk about today, I don't even know where to start, but I will start with this. It's Veteran November. We've got a great episode coming up today with Vince Scott. He's the Chief Security Officer at STI Tech. Great episode talking about his career in the military and how it's translated into Infosec, so make sure you tune in for that. Premiering right now at the very same time on our CISO Talk podcast is my podcast that I recorded yesterday with the great, the one, the only Bob Turner. He's the Chief Information Security Officer over at the University of Wisconsin. So if you have not subscribed to our CISO Talk podcast or tuned in, make sure you do so right now, exclusively there. I talk to Bob. We talk about cyber leadership. We talk about his career in the Navy as well. In CISO Talk, by the way, every single episode this month is with a veteran as well. On November 30th, I'll be bringing on a bunch of veterans I couldn't fit into the program, and we'll be doing a live session. Anyone can join. More news coming on that next week. And so now let's get into today's Practitioner Brief. We do have a lot to talk about, folks. A lot of things happening. We'll start with I'll read you off with the headlines, and then we'll go into details here. So we're still waiting for the election results in case you've missed that, if you're not on the same planet. But there has been a lot of activity in the cyberspace over the last 24 to 36 hours with the uncertainty, with a lot of the legal challenges, with some of the stuff that we're seeing on social media and on other forums and platforms that raise a ton of questions, but also kind of require us as practitioners to take a lead here and maybe present a better outcome in 4 years. VMware issues updated fix for critical ESXi flaw. Cisco is working on a patch for a code execution vulnerability in their VPN product. And Rackspace hosted email flaw is being actively exploited by attackers. Let's get right into VMware that is issuing an updated fix for the critical ESXi flaw. VMware issued the updated fix for the critical severity remote code execution flaw in its ESXi hypervisor products. Wednesday's advisory said unpatched versions were available after it was discovered that the previous patch, which was released on October 20, did not completely address the vulnerability. That's because certain versions that were affected were not previously covered in the earlier update. The flaw existed in the Open SLP feature of VMware ESXi. ESXi itself is a hypervisor that uses software to abstract processor, memory, storage, and networking resources into multiple virtual machines. Each virtual machine runs its own operating system and applications. OpenSLP, meanwhile, is an open standard technology. In this case, this specific flaw was a malicious actor residing in the management network who has access to port 427 on an ESXi machine, may be able to trigger a use after free in the OpenSLP service, resulting in the RCE, making this a critical 9.8 on the CVSS scale out of 10. I want to talk to the fact that they've had to do this twice, and this goes into the idea of rushing to issue a patch without properly testing or extensive testing. Obviously, the folks over at VMware do an amazing job with great products, but it just shows you the difficulty in patch and vulnerability management. And we often talk about the next big toy, but rarely do we really look at how difficult it is to come up with a patch for every single use case of every product within your ecosystem when a vulnerability is discovered. So well done by VMware here in getting this stuff situated. Cisco is working on a patch for a code execution vulnerability in their VPN product. Cisco informed customers yesterday that it's working on a patch for a code execution vulnerability affecting its AnyConnect product. The company says a POC exploit is already available. The Cisco AnyConnect Secure Mobility Client is designed to provide secure VPN access for remote workers. Hence, we're in the COVID-19 era. A lot of people are working remotely. They're working from home. And so VPN has been one of the most used security products right now. According to Cisco, the product is affected by a flaw tracked to CVE 2020-3556 that can be exploited by a local authenticated attacker to cause an AnyConnect user to execute a malicious script. The vulnerability is related to the lack of authentication for the inter-process communication listener. The Linux, Windows, and macOS versions of the AnyConnect Secure Mobility Client are affected if both the auto-update and enable scripting settings are enabled. The latter is technically disabled by default. There are no workarounds for the vulnerability at the moment, but concerned users can disable the auto update or enable scripting settings to prevent exploitation until a patch is done. The Cisco is estimating a patch should be in place here shortly. They have not given a real time frame to it, but like I said, and we just talked about a second ago with VMware, creating a patch, addressing it, and getting it deployed takes time. It takes testing. It takes QA. It takes a lot of work. It's not an easy game. And then we take the patch, and then we've got to look at it and how it affects our own environments and our own networks and deploy it and make sure that everyone patches their devices in the case of the Cisco here. So definitely something where we as a community can start to streamline and look for different solutions of how to do this and kind of share our best practices on it. Our third story of the day, Rackspace hosted email flaw is actively being exploited by attackers. So this is a very big story in terms of length. I'm not going to go through all of it, but attackers have been actively exploiting a flaw in Rackspace hosted email service to send phishing emails bearing legitimate and validated domain names as part of a BEC scheme. 7 Elements, an IT security testing consultancy based in Scotland. Shout out to Chris Roberts, which says that attackers have been using what it's dubbed as an SMTP multipass attack. SMTP refers to Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, since it's designed to subvert multiple accounts and bypass DNS-based defenses against spoofed emails. All organizations that use Rackspace hosted email service appear to have been vulnerable to having their email domains misused in this manner. The flaw, which has been around, they've used Breitbart, Cadbury, GitLab, Hacker Warehouse, Honda, NationalGuard.com, Richmond, Indiana Gov, Schwarzenegger, Scorpion Computer Services, 666 Casino, a lot of very high-profile domain that many people trust. It's now still working on a fix. There's no fix. It's been 90 days, a little over. The vulnerability was discovered in July, authenticated in August. It's now November. They were given 90 days by 7 Elements essentially to get this fixed. The fix isn't still in place yet, and they hope to have it in place shortly. Until then, they just wanted to give disclosure so people and clients understand. They've started that with their own customers, and we're sharing it in case you weren't one of the lucky ones to get notified by Rackspace for it. And I want to end on election 2020 update. I know no one knows who's going to win yet. A lot of rumors of irregularities. And while we see all of that, we have some threat actors taking advantage of it all. A lot of threat actors have unleashed a new mail spam campaign aimed at spreading the Qbot Trojan, sending emails claiming to have information about the election interference. And we know that databases have been exposed, and we know that they have this information. And so we're seeing that. I think this is something critical for us as security practitioners to share within our organization. We know that a lot of people within our companies and enterprise are all watching this election and concerned about its outcome, concerned about what appears to now be irregularities. And so letting him know that some of this stuff is spam is critical. In another story yesterday, the Department of Justice announced that they've seized 27 domains that were used by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to spread global covert influence campaigns. A lot of them news websites pretending to be of trusted. So like they tried to use NPR's front, but they did NP front, without the R, all kinds of stuff like that. There's been 23 other domains that were also seized for a total of 50 by the by the Department of Justice, essentially disabling the IRGC. That's it for us this week, folks. No Tech Corner tomorrow. We'll be posting our Veteran November episode tomorrow. Saturday, we won't have one as usual. Enjoy your Saturday. Take the time off, especially now, and go travel. Go outside. Look at the fall. Understand the sun will rise also tomorrow. And amidst this uncertainty our nation has been through, tougher times, we'll get over this one as well. Irregardless to who wins this election, we are all Americans. And at the end of the day, no matter who your family, friend, peer, coworker, colleague voted for, they're still your colleague, friend, family. So just remember that we are not defined by who we vote for, but we are defined by the people who we are in our character and in our deeds. And that's how we should be looking at each other. That's it for us here today. That's it for us here this week. We'll be back on Monday with more Practitioner Brief. Until then, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening, and God bless this country.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast listening platform.